Okay, here we go. So, the cryptocurrency market has been kind of in the gutter since the Federal Reserve started its quantitative easing programs. Would have been in November of 2021. And if you look at any chart, if you look at whether it's market caps, whether it's volume, DeFi's total locked in value, you'll see that it kind of all looks the same. Here we have in November of 2021, the quantitative easing starts, and then everything starts going into the gutter. Volume drops off, total locked in value in the DeFi application takes a nosedive, in those first few months of 2022. And we have been in more or less a bear market since then. And it has affected the cryptocurrency market in many ways. There's been a rash of frauds as it's come to light that many of the so-called CeFi, which is so wannabe DeFi applications, were nothing but scams. And a bunch of other centralized lender programs turned out to be totally insolvent. The collapse of Celsius that led to the subsequent collapse of other lending programs, the FTX scandals. It seems to be that there was a fair share of frauds and scams during the early 2021 era of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general during the bull run, but nothing like what we've experienced over this past year. And it has affected some of the biggest players in crypto. I came across another article, this one out of Medium, about how the Winklevoss's brothers, their Gemini exchange is going to lay off another 10% of their workforce. And it was interesting because it does touch on some of this that I was talking about. And it's definitely going to result, I think, in even more layoffs as we kind of get squeezed out here over the next year. Even though Bitcoin is showing a little bit of life and the crypto markets in general have kind of rebounded, I'm still not entirely sold on that, just given the continuing crisis in Ukraine with the war between Ukraine, NATO, and Russia, and as well the issues going on with China right now because it's in another COVID crisis, and as well the inflation that was caused by the government's spending during lockdowns. We'll go through this article here and we'll take a look at this. Gemini to lay off another 10% of its workforce due to bad actors in the industry. Gemini is planning a third round of layoffs since the crypto winter began. The exchange is said to be downsizing its workforce by 10%. And this is definitely on the heels of what I was talking about, especially just in the past 6 months when it comes to what has happened within this space. The Winklevoss brothers-led crypto exchange Gemini is reportedly planning a new round of layoffs, which will affect 10% of its staff. This comes a week after digital currency groups Genesis Global filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, revealing that Gemini was its largest creditor with $765.9 million owned to the exchange. That would have been the Gemini exchange. And no doubt this is probably led by what happened with FTX and the rest of the stuff that took place over the past year. They're quoted as saying, "It was our hope to avoid further reductions after the summer. However, persistent negative macroeconomic conditions and the unprecedented fraud perpetuated by bad actors in our industry have left us with no other choice but to revise our outlook and further reduce headcount," the president and co-founder of Gemini, Cameron Winklevoss, said in an internal message. And the Winklevoss brothers have been involved in crypto for quite some time. They were one of the more public investors in Bitcoin, and have been behind a lot of the push to get cryptocurrency into the hands of more people around the world. So, I'm not surprised by them laying off more people. I think that that's just going to be something that we're going to see more of. Cameron Winklevoss has threatened to sue DCG, Barry Silbert, and others, goes on to continue saying, Cameron Winklevoss references to bad actors as the root cause of the most recent round of layoffs seems like an indirect reference to the bankruptcy situation at Genesis Global. It definitely is. In a Twitter thread on Friday, Winklevoss lauded the bankruptcy move by Genesis Global, describing it as a crucial move towards recovering Gemini customer assets tied to the crypto lender. So it seems from reading this here that Gemini was doing a little bit of loaning. Genesis Global was a lending kind of platform. These are part of that whole CeFi sphere. And I always knew that centralized finance was nothing but garbage. But he has an entire thread here that you can look at, and it is interesting. I do like it when the people, these bigger people within cryptocurrency, go public with this kind of stuff and they talk about it. They bring more attention to what's going on, and they really put the burners on some of these other people and companies within the space that were frauding people and were bad actors, like he was saying. But he explains kind of the reasons why he's looking at potentially suing these people, laying out the narrative about how they were bad actors, and going into some of the future things that might happen with him and the now defunct Genesis Global and the people tied to it. He continued to say, however, he cautioned that the bankruptcy did not insulate Digital Currency Group, DCG, its founder and CEO Barry Silbert, and other wrongdoers from accountability. So he's going to come after them personally, it looks like. He added that Gemini was preparing to take direct legal action against Barry, DCG, and others who shared responsibility for the fraud that has caused harm to the 340,000 plus earn users and others duped by Genesis and its accomplices. So this does remind me a lot of Celsius. And as I said, these wannabe DeFi programs were not DeFi at all. And we're probably, and ultimately when they finish these investigations, they're going to find out that it was pretty much the same thing that was going on with people that were working at FTX. They were degenerates. They were trading with their clients' money. They were investing their clients' money. They were spending their clients' money. None of it was really probably going towards any of the DeFi protocols. It was more or less over-leveraged in bad positions. And ultimately, the regular person is going to end up paying for this in the meantime while they try to get some of this money back. And again, if they get the money back, is it going to be in the form of another asset? Are they going to have to sell that asset? What kind of pressure is that going to put on the market, etc.? We're seeing stuff from Mt. Gox come back from the dead now, where funds from Mt. Gox, Bitcoin, is going to be dumped on the market to cover the losses for people that were burned by that. And that's going back, from the better part of a decade. And so it's not going to be a good effect on the market, I think, if they have to sell these assets to then get money to help pay for the losses for the users. Gemini carried out layoffs back in June and July of 2022, just recently there. The new round of layoffs at Gemini is the third since the crypto winter started to bite in mid-2022 due to the collapse of Luna. And I would argue actually that the crypto winter began when the Federal Reserve started its quantitative easing programs. You can see that in the charts. You see volume kind of top off. You see prices kind of top off. There are some other lesser known cryptocurrencies that had continued runs, but ultimately everybody sort of followed suit. And the quantitative easing begins in November in 2021, and by March, May, April, those months, you're really seeing the effects on the market in general as it all starts to kind of fall off. And you can see this in volume, you can see it in total locked value in DeFi, you can see it in prices on the major cryptocurrencies in the top 20. To bite in mid-2022 due to the collapse of Luna and Terra UST. At the beginning of 2022, Gemini had an estimated headcount of 1,100, which was reduced to an estimated 650 to 700 by the end of the year. And if they cut off another 10% of that, then it will probably reduce down closer to, if it's 700, it'll be reduced down to like 630, and if it's 650, it's probably going to be reduced down into the high 500s. Gemini first let go of 10% of its workforce in early June 2022, citing a contraction phase that it is settling into a period of stasis, what the industry refers to as the crypto winter. The crypto exchange would again carry out a second round of layoffs in mid-July 2022, reducing it down to the numbers that I was just talking about, 650 to 700. So it's definitely interesting to see sort of the long-term effects of these, these collapses, things like Terra, the collapse of Celsius, Genesis, and the other types of lending platforms that existed before, and exchanges too, and the effects that it's going to have wider on the people within the cryptocurrency space. I do think that ultimately we're going to come out of this bear market that we found ourselves in. If you do look at, even TVL here, it's starting to kind of flatten out a bit, and even market caps, when it comes to Bitcoin, when it comes to the major top 10 cryptocurrencies, you can kind of see over the past month we've had a pretty decent recovery. But long term, even over the year, the chart still looks pretty red. And I'm not entirely sold, again, on the idea that we're going to break out soon and head into a bull market, just because of the issues around the world, that the proxy war that's going on between NATO and Russia through Ukraine, it seems to be drawing in more and more countries, and seems to be a black hole for money and assets and weapons. And then as well too, the long-term effects of the lockdowns and how that destroyed a lot of the trade and the economy, and the issues going on in China that will continue to grow, I think, as the country sort of gets a hold of its health crisis. But all this should abate within the next couple of years, and hopefully by 2024 to 2025, we'll see a return of the bulls and a real return in volume. But it's going to take a lot for people, I think, to trust the markets again. And I'm hoping that, these articles and people bringing those articles to light and trying to reinforce the truths that centralized finance cannot and should not be trusted when it comes to the decentralized space. This space is about getting away from legacy finance and about decentralizing finance in general. And that's why you should be using decentralized financial applications. You should be getting your money off exchanges. You should be, practicing self-custody, responsibility, using cold wallets, using the DeFi applications, the thousands of DeFi applications that are available across all the different blockchains, and start taking control of your own finances, because that is the future of cryptocurrency. And I would like to see that continue to be the path forward for crypto in general. But you can leave me a comment down in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Do you believe that the crypto winter is going to continue? Do you think that we're coming out of it now, and these last bit of layoffs that we're seeing with Gemini and some of the other major crypto exchanges are going to be the end of it? Or do you think that it's going to all continue and we're going to see ultimately more lows over the next couple of years? Mainly driven by inflation and the growing geopolitical crises around the world. Let me know what you guys think. Again, thanks for stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, you can leave me a like, comment, and if you want to see more of this stuff, please consider subscribing. Thank you, and I will see you on the next one.